Hey guys, welcome back to the Design, Creativity and Technology channel. My name's Aaron. I'm back in front of my little Skyfire SVM1 VMC here today because I've had lots of my viewers asking me via the comments to do a little bit of a review on this Adtech controller. So today I'm going to take you through some basic stuff that I know that I've taught myself by reading the manual about how to power it up, how to put the tools in the carousel, how to change tools, how to set your tool length offset, and how to set your G54 in your work offsets. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before we can turn the machine on, we need to turn on our compressor to get up a full tank of air ready to supply the machine. To start the air today, I'm just going to simply turn on the power point, which is located behind me here to my left. Okay, you can hear the sound of the compressor. It's a little bit noisy, so we're going to wait for that to build a full tank of air before I power the machine on. Now I'm around the back of my machine at the moment, and I'm just shooting in handheld position here, so I'm off the tripod. But you can see I've got the airliners connected, I've got the gauges up in the green, and you can see my lubricating oil is well and truly over halfway, so I'm good to go. Okay, so I'm ready to power on the machine now, and before you do that, just ensure you got the breaker turned on in the house or in your workshop, and the breaker turned on in the back of the machine. If that's done, you should have a green light up on your control panel. Now to initiate power here today, I simply just press that green button there where the light is, and you'll hear the machine come to life, and we just got to wait for it to go through the initial boot up sequence, and then we'll be able to reset the alarm. The controller's booted up, and you can hear an alarm going off, probably through my microphone here that I'm wearing on my lapel. You can also see there's an alarm because the red light's on the back on the tree, on the indicator tree. So obviously we're in alarm state, which means probably there's an E-stop pressed, okay? So the first thing we check is our jog pendant, which is hanging here. So it wasn't that one, so I reset it. Is it the main control one? Yes, it is. So we reset the main controller. And we come over to the top panel, and there's a reset button here on the controller. Press once, we've got a green light, so we're good to go. The next thing I'm going to do, I was going to turn the interior light on in the machine. So let there be light. And I'm going to home the machine. Now to home the machine, it's quite simple. There's a switch here. It's like a mode switch or a drive switch. I'm going to flick all the way to the right. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 7 positions on that switch. Now once I'm in the home, it's as simple as either pressing the cycle start button here or the cycle start button there. Either one will work, okay? I'll press the big green one here and you'll see the machine home. As with all CNC machines, the Z will home first to get it up out of the way, and in here then the X and Y axes will home to their full extremities. And the good little thing with the Skyfire, it comes back to the center, which I think is kind of cute actually, instead of sticking over to the one left-hand side and then having to manually jog it back over again. Now I'm going to start loading tools into the umbrella tool changer. Okay, now to do that, I need to flick this operation mode switch back from the home position into the MDI position. Now once it's an MDI, you'll see the screen has changed from where it was when it's back right over here to home. You can see home up here, step mode, MPG mode, jog mode. It will always show you up the top of the screen, and MDI, and obviously in MDI it will say edit. Now one of these soft keys under here called MDI, we need to press that, so that's F3. It's got this little program here ready to rock and roll. So what I do, I go arrow down one, I press end of block twice, and I come up, back up one in the middle. So I'm going to type in now tool 1, so T1, M06. Let's command automatic tool change. I'm going to press start, and it goes, do you want to run this program in NBI? Yes, I do. So I press end of block, EOB. Okay, it is now called up tool 1. I'm going to press back to my monitor, and you won't be able to see that clear in this video, but down on this side here where it says T, So tool 0001. Okay, I've got my iPhone positioned on the table at the moment, and while I'm doing this, guys, I want to show you the umbrella tool changer. Now you must check. I'm sorry, the lighting's not that good here, but you must check before you start loading that the carousel. Well, I'm going to put my finger into the camera shot here now. That is tool 1. You've got to make sure it says tool 1 on that position there. Okay, if it's not tool 1 before you start loading your tools, you'll have to push the umbrella carousel left or right option, or clockwise, anti-clockwise, to get it in the number 1 position. I'll have to be in the jog mode to do it. Now I've got all my tools lined up on top of the swarf bin over here. It is a nice soft plastic surface. Always be careful, you don't want to put it on hard surface, you don't want to damage your tools. And what I'm going to do here before I actually start loading them, I've got them in the correct order that I want to load them. Okay, so I've got tool 1 here. Now usually in my umbrella tool changer, I never change the first 3 tools or tool 8. So on tool 8 is always going to be my edge finder. Now, I'm not telling you to set your machine up that way. This is what works for me, guys, okay? So what works for me may not work for you. So don't take it as gospel, that's for sure. So here's my 8 tools. They are a BT30 tool. Before I start loading, guys, I'm going to give each and every one of them a nice clean, okay? And then what I like to do, guys, after I've cleaned them, I have my hand nice and clean, and I gently wipe my hand around it like that, just to make sure I've got no furry bits of the rag left on there or anything like that. Now I'm going to start loading the tools into the spindle now. Now to do that, I need to be in the jog mode, so operation mode needs to be in jog. I'm going to press the tool unclamp button here, and that pneumatic solenoid will drop in and push the drawbar down, put my tool into the spindle nose and release it, okay? Jonathan and Kevin from South Africa pointed out that you don't have to push the button on the controller. If you find your solenoid valve on the power drawbar, you'll notice a little tiny, like a pin hanging out of it. Now that's what the solenoid, that actually attaches to the solenoid. So if I manually depress that, I can drop that tool in and out again by just pressing that button there. Alrighty, so we've got tool 1 loaded into the spindle. What we need to do now is call up tool 2. So we're just going to keep repeating this process, okay? So I'm not going to show you all of it. I'll show you one tool and then I'll skip to the next bit, okay? So over here, operation mode needs to be in MDI. We need to press F3, which is the soft key underneath the MDI there. And once again, arrow down to where I had the last line, where we had tool 1. I'm going to press the cancel button once and press tool 2. I'm going to press start, end of block. Okay, so I can put tool 2 into the spindle nose now. Remember, flick back to jog mode, press the button once, press it back in. Back to MDI, arrow down, and we're going to call up tool 3. Once you've got all the tools loaded, it's imperative that you don't play around with the carousel rotational keys from that point on, okay? So these 2 buttons here, tool advance or tool retard, okay? Because what happens, this carousel, this machine does not have a homing position on the tool carousel, all right? So if you were to manually increment that by 1 position and try a tool change, you would have a crash, okay? You would try and slam a tool into a tool that's already there. So you've been warned, don't play around with these two keys once you got your tools all loaded, okay? I can't stress that enough. It nearly caught me out once, but luckily I didn't press the button. We're going to start setting the tool length offsets now. Now, my little machine here does come with a tool offsetter, okay? I'll hang it down here so you can see it. In the background there, I'm not sure if you can see that. Hanging there. I'll get it out in my hand. All right, and I'll press it once, you'll hear it alarm out. All right, so I'm not going to use that here today, guys. I know it does work. Yarn Boss uses it from Triple Tree. I'm a bit more old school, okay, and I like to use this tool offsetter here from Edge Technologies. I'm going to position the edge finder here, which is in tool 8, on top of that tool setter, the Edge Technologies tool offsetter. I'm going to use my MPG pendant for this, and before I do that, before I can use the pendant, I need to flick over into MPG mode over here. Okay, I'm going to put my button on X. I'm going to hold the rapid button here so I can wind it, and we can come over. Y button now, bring it to the front a bit, and Z, and to bring it down. Now, once I've got the edge finder directly above the tool offsetter, I'm going to flick over to my Z, and I'm going to start winding it down in the negative direction, then change the servo motor setting to nice and slow. I'll come in there so I can see it, and the camera's in my road, but I'm pretty sure that looks like it's on 0. Okay guys, I need to change my position mode here to MDI, and I'm going to, using the arrows here guys, I'm going to arrow across 1, 2 to G56. And I'm going to set all my values there on 0. Now the reason I'm using G56 is because I rarely use G56 as a work offset. I mainly use G54 and G55. You can see my two vices set up there. Left vice is usually G54, right vice is G55. But that doesn't matter, you can alternate if you had to do that, all right? So here guys, I'm going to zero out all these figures here. It's going to press X once, and I'm going to press enter block, all right? You'll see that the coordinates over here has gone to 0, 0, 0. I'm going to press Y once, enter block. Once again over my screen here, you can see that X is now zeroed out, Y is now zeroed out. And my Z, I'm going to press Z, enter block. Alrighty. Now these figures won't change here, but you'll see over here in my coordinates that it's all zeroed out. Now I can start calling up the tools, and by jogging down here I can tell the difference in length, which I can then type into the tool offset. Okay, so now I can start loading my other tools and setting their tool length values. So to do that guys, from here, I'm going to press monitor, MDI. I'm going to call up tool 1. So T1M06, start, enter block. It will wrap it up. Alrighty, I can now jog tool 1 down until I go 0, and then set the tool offset. Now because tool 1 is a shell mill or a face mill, I actually had to jog over a little bit in the X. Now I'm nearly at the end of my travel there, and if I was to go a little bit more I'd alarm out. But I can pretty much grab that cutting tool there, so I'm just going to jog down slowly. Remember in the mode I had to go back to MPEG mode. I'm going to go back into my coordinates screen for a second here, and you'll be able to tell the difference in the length, all right? Because over here, guys, in the Z value, you'll see there's a negative 78.830. So that's the value we need to type into the controller now. Now to get into the controller, we're going to press the F2 button, which is under EXP, one of the soft keys here. And there's our tool offset page, all right? So we can see tool 1, 78, it's currently 78.791, okay? So I'm here at the moment, 78.830, so I'm going to change that value. To do that, I need to be in MDI, and you'll see it's now highlighted. You'll notice all my R offsets here are all 0 at the moment. So once again, I'm going to type in that value, negative 78 point or decimal 830. Okay, end of block, confirm that it goes in. So now it's a repeat process of what we were doing before. I need to press, I need to go back up in here to monitor. I'm going to call up MDI and I call up tool 2. So arrow down, boom, boom, cancel, 2, end of block, sorry, start, end of block. It will wrap it up and it should do a tool change. Now tool 2 for me is my spot mill, I'm sorry, my spot drill, not spot mill. Once again guys, I'm going to go back into coordinates and I'm just going to manually jog this back to X0 and Y0 because I'd moved it over for the shell mill to get into the center. Okay, we have it on 0 now. Righto, remember, how do we get back to it now guys? We're in the coordinates button, but we press the F2 button and we need to be back in MDI to do it. Arrow down one, read the value, it's 64.814. And you can see I'm not far off from the previous setting. I'm actually 64.819. I'll change it for the video for the sake of the video. So once again, I need to press the negative button first. I'm going to type in 64 decimal 814. End of block. Check it, confirm it. I'm out by, you know, a thousandth of a millimetre there. Maybe I didn't press the 4. But we're just going to repeat that process, guys. Call up tool 3 and so on until all the tools are done. Now I've zoomed in on the screen here to show you a few things. Hopefully you can see a little bit better now. But you can see all my tool values have now been entered. Now I leave tool 8, which was my edge, my touch-off gauge, the cheaper one of course. I'd love to have a Heimer. Tool 8 is set left at 0. Okay, so I've just set tool 7, and have a quick look through your tools, and you should know, roughly have a guesstimation about and approximate your tool lengths. You should see that the longest tool you have, so my drill bit, you can see it's a positive number, but all the others are negative. You just cast your eye of it. Now, some people ask me, okay, so in your coordinate page there, why did you set these up on G56? Well, later on, if I break a tool, I can always come back to this G56 value, put my tool, my edge tool offsetter in there, and and dial it back into, jog it over manually to X0 and Y0. But not only that, guys, when I'm entering the tool value, so up here back into my coordinate system F2, I don't get confused by any other numbers in over here. So if my X is 0, my Y is 0, this is a 5-axis controller. This is the Adtech CNC 4650, so 4650. If all my other values are 0, all right, and I've only got to look at the Z, look guys, sometimes you slip up. If you've got other values in there, you might punch the wrong value in. So that's why I set these all at 0. So I've only got the only value that shows will be the Z, and I don't make a mistake. Okay, let me show you how to set up a work coordinate now. So I'm back in MDI mode here. I'm going to flick over to MPG, and I'm going to pick up my MPG hand wheel. I'm going to jog my edge finder, and I'm going to go over and find the X value here. And I'm going to wait for the red light to glow on the edge finder. I'm going to back it off. I'm going to go down to a smaller increment, and just till it just glows there. You can see it just glowing there now. I'll just manually flick the spindle. I don't know if you can see that. Alrighty, so I found my edge point. Okay, so I know that's right, guys, so I'm just going to jog up now out of the way so I don't crash anything. Okay, I'm going to press back into my flick over to Z, and I'm going to go into Z in the positive direction and just lift that out so I don't crash it. Okay, I need to go back into my coordinate system, and I showed you how to do that earlier. Here's your main keys up here. Press coordinates once, and if you remember rightly, I'm still in G56. You can see it's highlighted. The screen is blue, but when it's highlighted, the numbers are in white. Okay, so I'm going to flick back over to MDI here for a moment, and I'm just going to arrow backwards now, back to my G54, and you can see they're white highlighted now. Alrighty, so I've just touched off on my X, guys. So what I can do now, I'm in MDI, I can press X once and press end of block. And you'll see my X value up here now will be all 0, 0, 0. However, my edge finder is 10 millimeters in diameter. So therefore, if I touch the outside of that edge finder, I need to move 5 millimeters now, all right, to find the 0. So I'm going to go back to MPG. I'm going to pick up my MPG. I'm going to go in 0.1 increment mode. And by watching this value here, I'm going to jog over to its a positive 5 number. Okay, X positive 5. Flick back to my MDI. Press X one more time and end of block. And now I know I'm correct. I'm in X0. So now I need to jog over and find my Y. Back in MPG mode. You can actually check that now. You can see how I'm in the center there, which is good for me for my X. I'm going to go back now. I'm going to X over a little bit. I'm going to drop it down now. Be careful. I've got my glasses on here, so I want to make sure I don't have a parallax error and crash my edge finder. When you're wearing glasses to read, guys, and you're standing away from the machine, you sort of induces a parallax error and end up, I come off best, so I end up damaging my edge finder. Okay, the light goes once, I'm going to back it off, change the increment to 0.01, and we just have it there. Give the spindle a flick so you can see the light there. Red light is glowing. Once again, guys, I'm going to jog up in the Z. All right, I've come off it now, so I know I won't crash. I'm going to flick back to the control and show you how to set that up. Now, don't forget, for the G54, guys, we are setting the back left-hand corner of the job, which is common. Most machinists do that. Okay, here we go. So I need to flick my modes back over to MDI, and that I know it will change now because it's gone highlighted. I arrow down to my Y. What I'm going to do now is press my Y button once. It's highlighted. I'm going to press end of block. Okay, so my Y value now is 0, 0, 0. But once again, don't forget, I'm 5 millimeters off the part because the diameter is 10. So the radius is 5, so I need to move it over in the correct position. 5 mil. Back into MPG. And this time it will be a -5 in Y. And confirm it, Y -5. Okay, back to MDI, press Y, end of block. All right. So we now have my X0 and my Y0 set. Let's set the Z height now. Okay, I'm going to jog the machine over, so I'm going to need to be in MPG for this. I'm just going to go Z up a little bit so I don't crash. I'm going to X across, and I'll Y in. We're going to come down on the Z now, nice and slow till I touch. Red light on, I'm going to back it off 1, change into 0.01 mode now, go into the negative direction. And there we have it. So from here, guys, now I leave the probe touching. I'm going to flick back to the controller now. So we can set the Z height now. I've still got the probe touching the Z. I'm going to flick over to MDI, arrow down to my Z. Okay, you can currently see it's out, it's at +17. If I press Z once, press end of block, and I now have 0, 0 on my Z. We can jog up now to get that probe off. Let's confirm that I've set this up correctly. The G54, the work offset in the correct XY location. So press monitor, F3 for MDI, arrow down. Got to be in the mode selection of MDI before it will actually enter. in your operational mode. I'm going to type in here, guys, X0, Y0, okay? Start. Now, before I press end of block to confirm, I'm going to move the camera over to show you. Okay, I'm going to press end of block. So getting a program into the machine is relatively simple. You've got a USB cover here, a latch. You get your finger under there and pop that up. Plug your USB flash drive in. I like to call these things nerd sticks. So my USB is in. What I do now, guys, there's a button on the right hand side near the reset button called File. Press File once. What you need to do now is arrow across to Data Traveler, or Data Traveler, you want to pronounce it. You're going to press end of block to get into it. Okay, wait a second for it to go into that folder. Get an arrow across down. I've called this program 01 test. Bang, I'm going to press end of block again. And it's going to go, do you want to load the G code? So once again, enter. The enter button is end of block. Enter, and here it is now. It's going to load the code, and that was pretty quick. And that was a code that I post-processed through Fusion 360. Okay, to run that program now, guys, I need to go back into monitor. All right, I can run from that monitor position, or I can actually press the program button here and I can see the program here, and I can go through that and edit it if I have to on the fly if I wanted to, but I don't need to. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, that should be a good position to continue from. Alrighty, so I'm going to take off camera before, guys, I put this part back in. This is a part that I machined earlier, and I reset the Z height 40 millimeters off the top surface. That way then I can do a ghosting cycle and just do run a cycle without it actually cutting. I'm going to take that tool out now, guys. So remember, flick back into jog mode, clamp, unclamp it. Don't forget to re-clamp it, guys. Remember what I said. If you think you will forget, you're best to press the button on the solenoid, okay? But you must remember to, once you unlock it, to re-push it again. Remember, it's a captive switch. It doesn't let go of that thing. And unfortunately, the spindle will start if that's depressed. Alrighty? So I've got the coolant off to the side here, so it will just pump over there. Now, the reason I take my edge finder out is because it fills up with water, or sorry, with coolant. So here we go, guys. Simply press cycle start, but you have to be in auto mode to do that. So operational status over here, 2 flicks to the left in automatic mode, cycle start, she'll come to life, she'll tool change. Well, thanks for stopping by my workshop again, guys. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your support. There we have it. I hope you learned something. It's pretty simple, isn't it? So I've shown you how to start the machine up, home the machine, put all your tools in, set all your tool offsets, set the G54, set your work offset, showing you how to load G-code into the machine. It doesn't get much simpler than that, guys. Am I happy with the machine still? Yes, I am. I'm still happy with the machine. Could there be improvements? Yeah, there could be improvements. Remember I told you about that carousel? So once you've got the tools in, guys, if you orientate that carousel, one tool out, you'll crash the machine if you tool change. So whatever you do, don't touch it. The other thing is too, guys, you know, would it be worth paying the $2,500 extra? I think that's what I was quoted, US dollars, 2 or 3 grand to run the Siemens controller. Yeah, maybe it would have been. I'm not sure, guys. I think there's probably more features on the Siemens that would outperform the Adtech, that's for sure. Anyway, guys, look, I can't really comment. I've never used a Siemens controller. The only industrial controller I've ever used, apart from the Adtech, is the Haas. And of course, you know, I started off on Mach. Actually, years and years ago, guys, I started off on K-Cam, probably a little unheard of now. Then I went to Mark III, and then I got rid of both of those and went to the Masso, loved the Masso. and I only recently sold the Masso because it was my DIY machine it was attached to. And when I bought this machine through Skyfire, I opted for the 5-axis controller Adtech. And the reason I went with the Adtech is probably a friend of mine, Stuart Duncan from Titan Machinery. He always said they were a pretty good controller, and Stuart's an honest bloke and I trusted him. All right, guys, look, once again, thanks for joining, thanks for stopping by. Love hearing from you, love hearing from your comments, and yeah, do us a favour, guys, like my video, share it, I'd really appreciate it. I'm really trying hard to build the channel. Obviously, I'll never ever be a Casey Neistat or a Lars Christensen or or a John Saunders. That's what I'm trying to do, guys. My job, I'm a school teacher, and this is my hobby. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.